evening, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Warren Files. Holy cow, we have 65 people in here already.
Awesome.
We haven't seen that. Man, this is what I mean. We have a really, really good guest, and I want to thank Tammy for helping book our guest. But I'm going to let Tammy introduce her because she's one of Tammy's mentors, and so take it away, Tammy.
All right. Yes, our guest tonight is an amazing mentor, as Jeff just mentioned. I am lucky and to be able to call her a personal friend. She is a doll. She is sweet. She is amazing. You have seen her on things like Hell House, Michigan, the Holzer Files, the Dead Files. You've seen her on Ghost of Devil's Perch. You've seen her on Flight 401. Without further ado, let's bring in the world-renowned psychic, evidential medium, Cindy Kaza.
Hello.
Welcome, Cindy. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. It is. I can't believe how many people have joined already. This is fantastic. And
I'm so glad.
Obviously, you have a big following because we normally don't get this many people to watch right away. So
everybody loves you.
Yes. I don't know. Where do we even start, Tammy? Wow. I started off
yeah. Well, let's go with what we were talking about before the show a little bit. Let's start into the Dead Files a little bit and talk about that. And then we'll move. There's so many things. We could be on here for 5 hours and still not touch the tip of the iceberg, I feel like. But so Jeff, so talk about the Dead Files.
I guess a little criticism I've always had about the Dead Files, and I'm glad you cleared this up in the green room, but I want to give you a chance to tell everybody, because I've heard other people say this too, is that it seems like there's never help offered. A lot of times people are told all this stuff is in their house, but then there's never, in like you said, the show doesn't show it, but you guys do follow up. Can you tell us about that?
So, I mean, it is kind of crazy, right? Because I didn't even know that there was so much pushback about that part until I was on the show. And I was like, why is everybody so pissed off at me? What is going on? So because after each investigation, what will happen is, we give a suggestion to the family, but then I would give the names of different mediums to the producers, who would then give the names of the mediums to the families, or I'd call the mediums and tell them, and so on and so forth. So we did recommend mediums and different people from different areas to go help clear the families' homes. But as you also saw in my season, sometimes people didn't even listen to what I said. They're like, well, Cindy said this, but we did this. And that's fine. Right. I'm like, great, whatever floats your boat. If you found peace, it doesn't matter what you did. But it's like, I just want people to really know that it wasn't like we just went there and then left and didn't try to help. We definitely did try to help. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that, because that's, I mean, at the Warren Foundation, that's one of the biggest things that we do is, our goal is to help people. And, I do know that we've experienced, sometimes, and I'm not saying this has nothing to do with you, but I'm sure you've encountered this too, where mediums will go in, tell somebody stuff, scare the absolute crap out of them, and then walk away.
Oh, I know. Well,
I'm sure you've seen it.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's unfortunate that happens, because that makes us all look bad.
Yeah, we've a lot of, and it's not just mediums too. It's paranormal investigation teams will go into people's houses, tell them they have a demon or a portal, and then see you later. Watch us on YouTube.
Yeah. Can I tell you the thing that I think is really, I don't know, a little bit crazy is when there are like locations, right, where people go do paranormal investigations, and then the owners of the location make it a rule that nobody's allowed to cross any spirits over to the other side. And I'm thinking, okay, first of all, my thought on that is humans, sure, we can assist, but we can't make the final decision. Mm-hmm. So, right. And then that just kind of like goes against everything that we do, to just go, to say you can't do anything about it, leave them there because we want to make money off of this haunting.
It's almost like, honestly, it's like slavery. Like,
right. You don't own them. Yeah.
Right. And that's how they act sometimes. And I've encountered that as well. And that's always been a big complaint,
mm-hmm.
is that, people say you can't cross our spirits over. Well, I mean, okay, slave owner.
Well, the thing is this too, is that the what it really is, and this is my belief, so I can only speak from my belief, right? Other people have different beliefs about what I'm about to say. I, as a medium, never say to somebody, I crossed this spirit over. because I don't believe that I alone can cross over a spirit. There has to be an agreement on the side of the soul of the spirit as well. There are other forces at play. And it's kind of like in this dimension, you can go to a therapist or go to a doctor or go to somebody and they can give you advice and tell you, you know, this will help you feel better. And then the person has to decide whether or not they want to do that.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
for a medium to say, I did this, I crossed the spirit over, I'm like, well, the spirit had to actually, you know, do that with you.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, to your point, they have to accept crossing over and they have to go. They have to be the one to do it. You're just assisting.
Mm-hmm. So the thing that I think too, maybe, and this, I'm not saying this is in every situation, but when there are those locations where the owners are saying, there's a rule, you can't cross any spirits over, and then people are going and picking up all this paranormal activity, I almost wonder if they're actually picking up on psychic imprinting and a really strong residual energetic imprint left behind. Because you would think after however many years of mediums going there and talking to these spirits, I mean, look, what do I know? But I just, and the more I learn, the less I know. So let me just say that. But really, I don't know anything. But the thing is, you know, that I wonder if there's a lot more psychic imprinting, because psychic imprinting can leave really intelligent information behind that can be picked up on equipment that we can feel as psychic mediums, that we can sometimes misunderstand or misinterpret as being an intelligent haunting. So just some things to think about.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you. I agree with you on that a lot. And that's where, like with our team, we usually couple mediumship with equipment so that we're getting validation kind of back and forth to know, like, are we getting responsive answers? If you are, then it's probably likely intelligent, you know, coupled with everything else.
Yeah.
But if you are just relying on one thing, that's going to be really hard to thresh out and to figure out.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I like about the way that I do things, and a lot of us in the foundation do it too, is that we keep our investigators separate from the mediums for a while. You know what I mean? Just we don't want to taint you, but we don't want you tainting us as traditional investigators at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually we merge and discuss and share info and stuff like that. But like I personally, my team here in town, I send the mediums in and I don't go in with them. We don't tell them anything that's going on, any of the claims or anything like that. We let them go in, do their thing. We ask that they write it down and don't say anything until the end.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah. Because otherwise it's, they're going to come out and say, oh yeah, I picked up this strong presence in the master bedroom. And all of our investigators are going to go there instead of going to the basement, maybe where the stuff's actually going on. So, it's a funky mix between traditional investigating and using mediums on a psychic team.
Yeah.
And that's actually why I've been such a fan. I love the fact that you're on the Dead Files now. I've been watching it since season 1 because that format is kind of what Warren is all about. You guys keep it separate and research is done here and mediumship is done here. And when the two meld and come together, it's usually really profound.
Yeah.
So that is exactly why I've been a fan of the Dead Files for so many years.
Yeah.
But to the point of what Jeff was saying with Dead Files, so here's a good question for you, a mediumship question. And I think you've probably pondered this before yourself. And one time I was watching you on one of these episodes, and while you were doing your reveal, you kind of did this number where you looked around almost as if spirit was with you and you were like, oh crud, they're listening. And it gave me this question. When you're in a reveal situation in the home, why is it that when you're giving the advice, the spirits couldn't pick up on what you're saying to correct the problem, to get rid of them, whatever, and now they have that information and they thwart you? So now they're going to come harder, or they're going to do something different to not allow what we think as mediums will work.
Oh, I mean, they absolutely can. Spirits are everywhere all the time. They absolutely can. So that's the thing. It's like we as mediums and people in general think we have like a lot more power than we do have. We are powerful beings. Mm-hmm. But I think we like to think that we are more in charge than other forces of nature a lot of the time, when actually everything is a co-creation. I could go on this really long tangent about the word co-creation, which would take us down a portal that I don't know I get out of before this ends.
Rabbit holes are always fun,
right?
But really, sometimes I think about the idea that, I truly believe that everything is inside of us. Everything that ever was, ever will be, and ever has been, or it is, right? Okay, so if that's what I believe, that we all have all of this information inside of us, then everything that we're experiencing outside of us is also inside of us. We're just remembering it. And why are we interacting with these parts? It's like going into this weird space of, time is not linear. Everything's happening at the same time. Everything is connected. There's no separation. And if you start looking at things from that perspective, then you can ask yourself, why am I even encountering this spirit? What's going on? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. And I think they can hear us. They can hear our thoughts anyway. So
it's super heady and out there, but we're co-creating everything all the time with our environment, with other people, with the spirit world, all the things.
What do you think? That brings up kind of a interesting question I've always had, and I like to ask people this. So have you seen the movie The Others with Nicole Kidman?
Oh my gosh, yes, but a long time ago. It was a long time ago. So she wound up being dead, and her kids were dead or something in the house. Okay, I remember it. Bits and pieces.
The two worlds, that the spirit world and the live world were meshing, and they both thought that the other ones were the ghosts. I mean, I personally, I kind of think that that's more realistic than even just a movie. What do you think about that?
I mean, look, it's like there really is no separation, and it's really hard to talk about the idea that past, present, and future are happening simultaneously without contradicting oneself, because the language that we use in this dimension is based on duality. It's created, from that space. So there's up, down, this, that, here, there. So if time and space aren't linear, then the language doesn't really match that we have, right? We can't really explain it. So, and sorry, I have really bad ADD, so I might go off on a tangent.
No, go ahead.
Back in, okay. Rein it in. Okay. But it's really like, yes, I think that's possible. But there's this guy named Matthias De Stefano who has the show on Gaia. I talk about him a lot now. I don't think the show is not current, but you can watch it on Gaia, and he's a really interesting channeler, medium, a healer who claims to have remembered all of his past lives. And so he talks about this, the idea that time and space are not linear, and that dimensions aren't real because everything is happening right now and here. Okay. But so when we talk about dimensions and the other side and the spirit world and the layers, he said it's not that we're actually going somewhere. It's that we're able to shift our awareness to a different frequency. So if you think about it that way, we're still here. We're just shifting to a different frequency. So everything is a frequency. Everything is a vibration or a frequency. And I think in that space, it's possible for all of the things to be here all at the same time.
Yeah. That makes sense. And especially, energy can't be created nor destroyed, just changes form. And we are energy. Scientifically, we are energy. So if that's the case, our bodies may go away, but that energy is still existing.
Of course. And I also believe that, and this is more of a Sufi kind of perspective of reincarnation, because people always ask me, do you believe in reincarnation? And the answer is yes. And then I second that by saying I can't explain reincarnation. Really, I can't. I'm like, I don't really know how to explain it to. I believe that it's possible, absolutely. And so when I've tried to learn about all these different ideas about the concept of reincarnation, and the Sufi idea actually makes the most sense to me. So I have this friend named Cameron Pasha. Actually, do you know Cameron? Tammy, did you ever hear my friend Cameron?
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So he's like a genius, super interesting guy. So when he talks about reincarnation from the Sufi perspective, it's like this. It's like each soul is unique, but as each soul comes into this realm, it moves through all of the layers of everything that ever was before, and it has all of that information with it, and then it enters into this body. So again, inside of us, we have everything, we have all the information. And so when somebody will say something like, oh, well, I was Marilyn Monroe in a past life. Well, of course you were, because you have all that information in you, right? But the better question is, why are you remembering that aspect of everything right now? So we've all been Marilyn Monroe. We've all been Cleopatra. We've all been everything. But why are we remembering
what
those?
Was the lesson we didn't learn, or we needed to learn to move forward? Or
what is the lesson for us now? And then the other thing is, why are we trying to spend so much time remembering our past lives when everything is right here? It can be a distraction, so people get really distracted in going into the past and figuring out the past lives. So if you look at it, okay, I'm remembering this aspect. How is it affecting my life today? And what can I do with it? Now let's move on.
Mm-hmm. What about people that don't have that recollection? I mean, why do you think some are more focused on it and some actually have the ability to bring up that recollection while others just have no clue? Like I did, we did a show last season about past life regressions. Mm-hmm. And I actually had a guy do a session with me his name is Paul Goddard. He's from the UK. He's fantastic.
Oh, I feel like I've heard his name before.
Yeah, he is great.
I wasn't a full believer in that until I did a session with him. And like everything was like just so crystal clear to me. It was like, okay, duh, like, how did I not know this before? Like I can still see the pictures that were in my head that day.
Amazing. It's amazing.
In detail. I mean, it was crazy. So I do want to get to some of the questions in the comments because I don't want to ignore the comments.
Oh, sorry. I'm just going on tangents.
Oh, you're fine. I got to find one. Okay, this is a pretty good one. Corey wants to know, have you developed any new skills in the last year?
Oof, in the last year, new skills. Well, let me think about that. I guess I would say this. I don't know if I'd call it a skill. I think I've just been sitting more with the idea that everything is right here and being more present. Oh, yes, I have one. Okay, so in that space, okay, this is, I guess, maybe a new skill, or it's a development in my mediumship or progression. So as I've been sitting with this, idea that everything is here, it's all here, being present is the best place that we could ever be, because when we're present, we're not affected by the stories of the past and all the stories of the future, and presence is where the magic is, and the connection to everything is. But when I was in that space and just sitting there, I had an intuition or an insight come in from somewhere else, a spirit guide, that was sharing with me that in my mediumship, when I'm working, it's actually more important for me to feel the energy coming down into my solar plexus, and into my root chakra, and into my heart. So working from here, because that's the most grounded place that your information can come from, because it's not only coming from within inside yourself, and it's connecting with the people around you. You're feeling the divine connection between everything. Mm-hmm. But in the past, what I assumed was that when I was working, I had to be shooting everything out of my crown chakra. I had to be really far out, touching everything around me, that I had to be outside of myself, that I had to be stepping outside of myself. And I learned that actually for me, my mediumship is better when I don't do that, when I actually go inside. So something to think about for people that are working as psychics and mediums or developing, because I think a lot of us learn, and I certainly learned this from my mentors too, that it's like, okay, shoot it out of your head. And I teach my students this, like, do the ladder up to the sky, because it's easier for people to visualize that at the beginning. But as your mediumship progresses, or your psychic work moves forward, I would say start focusing on the inside. Yeah.
So do your classes range from like absolute beginner to way advanced? I mean, talk about the classes that you do a little bit.
I love teaching so much. So teaching is one of my favorite things. I really, it brings me so much joy. So I teach like workshop for beginners, which is so fun, because it's like, I think most people surprise themselves, I teach, from a place where I believe everybody innately has abilities to feel the connection to the spirit world and to the energies around us. And so I encourage people to trust that. And I say everyone can play the piano. Not everybody's going to be a concert pianist, but everybody has the ability to feel the energies. So I try to, I teach exercises where I feel like they're fun and people feel encouraged to try and it's not scary. And then they wind up like being like, I can't believe I did that. And for me, it's really the best thing to see, because I think it's important for people that are in the public eye doing this work to really encourage other people and everybody else to tap into their own abilities, because we all have it. It's not like this thing where I walk around thinking I'm this oracle and you have to come see me because I'm the only one, or I'm this unique person that has this gift that nobody else has. I mean, that's a bunch of crap. I think it's really about opening people's eyes up to their own potential.
Because I've been, I don't know, there's been times where I suspected that I do have some abilities. I just keep them pushed down for some reason. So I thought maybe sometime I should take a beginner class and try.
Please do. Oh my
God.
Yeah,
totally. Yeah. And Cindy's great, because I mean, everybody comes in class, everybody's from all walks of life. It doesn't matter. And there, no matter what exercises Cindy will do, she is so good about, like, even if like you failed the exercise, let's say you got nothing but like one little tiny shred of good evidential evidence. Yep. Cindy's like, no, look what you just did. Look what you just did. She's so encouraging. And I mean, that is so important, because as Cindy said, we were all born the same. We all have the same brains. We all have, everybody has the abilities within us to do this. It's just a lot of people, they don't have the confidence. They fear being wrong. That's the biggest thing I've seen with mediums, is they fear being wrong. Mm-hmm. But none of us are 100%. Right.
Well, that's everybody's conception, right? That's all this pressure that people put on us, that we're supposed to get everything right. And I'll tell you why people put that pressure on us, I think, is because in the past, mediumship has been portrayed as this very unique thing that only a certain few people have. And from there, it's like, yeah, of course you better get it right. Instead of approaching it as like, no, we all have this ability to feel these energies. And no, it's not a perfect science. It's not a science. Well, maybe one day it will be science.
It will be.
But it's like this. It's like more subtle. The experiences are entirely more subtle than what most people assume. And so they're waiting for the full body apparition to be standing in front of them. In the meantime, spirit world is like dropping all these signs and symbols and energies around us all the time. Mm-hmm. So that's also why I love teaching, because I'm trying to make this work more accessible to people, because it should be.
Because even Lorraine Warren said that the best psychics are only accurate, I think she said 60 or 70% of the time. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's really, like you said, there's a lot of pressure to be right, but people just have to know that it's, you're not always going to be right. Even the best ones in the world are not 100%.
Right. And it's just, and the other thing I wanted to say is, I think this is an important point, is mediumship and channeling can appear in many different forms. So yes, I work on the Dead Files or shows, doing paranormal investigations, do live events and teach and so on and so forth. But artists are channels, musicians are channels, scientists are channels. The things are being channeled all the damn time in different fields. A lot of people are channeling and they don't even know they're channeling, right? Yeah. But because they're not being called psychic mediums or mediums, they're called something else, whatever their profession is. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know, a whole other thing. So if you look at it from that perspective, yeah, there are a lot of mediums out there working professionally. They're just presenting their work in a different way. Yeah.
Yep. We do have a question. This is something I wanted to get into too. Dana says, I feel like your spirit art has evolved so much.
Hi, Dana.
Too. Could you speak a little bit on how you create your art?
Oh, thank you for asking. Yeah, my spirit art has evolved in the past year. I don't know why. I just go with it. I don't know what changed. So it's really an extension of my automatic writing. So I started automatic writing, I think in 2007 or 2008. And honestly, it just came very naturally to me. It freaked me out because it happened so fast. Like the floodgates were open and it was just something that I was able to do very quickly. And it was really overwhelming. And so after about a year of automatic writing, I had this intuition, like, oh, pick up some art supplies and try channeling. And I did, and it happened. So faces were coming out, and I was like, oh no, I'm finally going insane. It's happening.
No, I've seen them. They're fantastic.
And I think like there was who was telling me this? Oh, this art history professor from Canada. She was telling me that there was somebody in academia who wrote this book called, literally it's called something, it's like automatic writing, channeled art, and psychosis or something. I'm like,
Oh
great.
no.
It was all the things I do in one book. Great. Okay. It's really a book. It's really a book, right? So anyway, so then I started doing art, and that all happened in like 2009. That's about when I started painting and drawing. And I really didn't put myself out there with my art because I just was like, this is so weird. I don't even really know what I'm doing. And I still don't really know what I'm doing, other than I've really boiled it down to like, okay, spirit guides and really kind of ancient spirits are the ones that seem to be coming through. And so I just take the art supplies, I put my hand to the paper, and it just starts coming out. And then I feel into what's coming through for information as I'm drawing. And then that's what it's been. So we'll see how it evolves. But I love creating art.
Cool. Yeah, I've seen your stuff. It's pretty cool looking.
Thank you. Thank you.
That very last one was really cool.
Oh, from the other day? That was
yes.
for my friends. Yeah, that's for my friends. Yeah, it was her birthday. So.
That was really cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Tammy, you got a question? If not, I'm going to go back to the comments.
I actually have. Okay, so there's a question. I put out some questions in our psychic support group last week, and there are several. One of them deals with fractured souls and crossing spirits, because we were actually having a conversation about crossing spirits.
Yep.
And if a spirit is fractured, via they had a suicide, a trauma, whatever, they're totally fractured. Does that spirit have to be made whole to cross, or can fractured parts of a spirit cross and parts remain?
Right, exactly. I talk about this a lot. And the reason I started talking about this topic more in relation to the spirit world is because I started learning a little bit more about something in the field of psychology today. People are like, it's really interesting, called internal family systems. And so it's talking about how we have all these different parts, and different parts show up for different reasons. We can also fragment off if there's a trauma. And so a lot of people are going to healers today, and they're doing something called parts integration, where you go back and you find this part that fragmented off when you had a trauma, and you reintegrate it into yourself so you can, heal that space. Because I think if we talk about like pain and trauma and healing, a lot of times people are like, I need to get this away from me. I need to get it outside of my body, when actually reintegrating it it can be more effective, because you're working with it. You're learning.
You're working through it.
Right? Okay. Yeah. So I personally believe when we die, the soul goes to another frequency. It becomes another frequency. And so here we go, talking about time and space and
again, yeah.
But so I'm going to say frequency, but I think if you believe it goes to another frequency, then it's not the same frequency as it was before. Therefore, it has crossed somewhere else.
Correct.
Okay. Now, I'm going to answer this by talking about paranormal investigation. So when I go into paranormal investigations, and let's talk about dead files, like most of the cases are really crazy, and there's something pretty negative happening. And just, for everybody listening, that is not the norm. So that is a very, very like particular show where the cases are like that. And that is not the norm. So let me just say that first. Okay. So you're going in and I'm feeling these spirits, and I believe I'm feeling or interacting with a fragmented version of a soul that's been traumatized, that needs compassion, healing, love, whatever, that wants to be reintegrated. I also believe other aspects of that same soul can be in other places, communicating with other mediums at the same exact time. Because if you look at like near-death experiences, or you talk to people that have had them, they can be in many different places simultaneously. So what is that showing us? I find it very hard to wrap my head around the concept of the entirety of a soul being trapped in a house for eternity. Does not make sense energetically.
Mhm.
So again, we're talking about these fragments, these pieces. And, it's important as mediums and psychics or people working with these energies, right? To also understand that our job is also to like sit with those pieces if we feel comfortable enough and I don't know, try to show compassion. And it's not always easy because you can become startled by the energy. You don't like it.
Right.
I don't like this, right? And the other thing I tell all my students is that in mediumship development and on your path as mediums, it's vital to dive deep into yourselves, because the more you work through your own stuff, the better your mediumship will become. Because you will be less triggered by the spirit world. And when you're less triggered, you can help more. Your triggers will impact how you interact with the spirit world. And that is the truth. It's the truth.
That's actually interesting that you say that, because like I said, I know for a fact I've had a few psychic moments. And one of them was, we were doing an investigation. We had access to this house for 72 hours. And there was a very, very bad spirit there. It was confirmed, through newspaper articles, through his arrest record. He was a bad dude, and he was really, really messing with the client. And something told me at one point I needed to almost say, okay, dude, you're forgiven. You don't have to stay here and torment these people anymore. And I'm not saying I crossed him over or anything like that, but that aspect of it.
See that? See what I mean? It's like if you were to talk to somebody who was alive that was like, oh my gosh, I hate myself. I'm an asshole. I screwed up my life. And you said, you know what? No, you're okay. You have pain. I see you. You don't have to think that way about yourself anymore. Oh, really? I don't? See what I mean? It's like, that's it.
Because the investigations up to that point had always been why are you such a jerk? Why are you so bad? Why are you, why are you this, that, and the other thing? And it's like, I don't know, just something came on me. I was like, dude, you gotta let's try and talk to him. Okay, man, you did some bad shit. Maybe you're sorry for it. Let's stop tormenting this family and this and that and the other thing. And, it didn't happen after that. So, there again, I'm not saying that I crossed him over or I was the one that did the great work. Whatever.
You can help. You can help.
And the other guy that I was doing the case with, it was funny because we didn't talk about this till probably weeks afterwards, but he did the same thing. He had that moment where it's like, man, we've been accusing you of this, that, and the other thing for such a long time in this house, that he sat down and reasoned and apologized and, this and that and the other thing. And it worked. I mean, sometimes they just, okay, I'm not a jerk. So it's time for me to move on. So
that's right. That's exactly right. And even in some of the shock talks I've done, right? Ed Gein, all the serial killer ones, right? It's like, and I felt compassion for them in moments, and then I was like, wait, and then there was a piece of me was like, I can't have compassion for this horrible person. I was like, actually, I can, right? It's this weird place.
Right.
It's very weird.
But I should have compassion. But if I do, then I look like a jerk. And it's really I think that's where we as human beings need to stop and kind of recognize people come in with different traumas and pains, and compassion is the answer, but it's not always easy to find.
Yes. Yeah. And that was it with this guy. It's I came to the point where it was like, maybe you were traumatized as a child or something. I will never excuse people for what they do, because he was abusive. Right. He was a bad guy, but maybe there's a reason why he ended up being so bad. And it was like, okay, let's try and deal with that aspect of it.
I mean, trauma usually is generational, unless you're coming in as a psychopath and your brain is just not working correctly. But psychopaths are like that. They come in and their brains are just very different. I think they say psychopaths are born, sociopaths are created, because there's usually an underlying trauma or abuse or substance abuse, all in combination, like the perfect storm, right? But trauma is generational, and just touching on that, when I did the Ed Gein shock doc, I remember tapping into his mother, and she was so abusive. That's how I had compassion for Ed Gein, because his mom was so psychotic and abusive and insane. But my compassion stopped there, and I was like, oh wait, I didn't have compassion for her. She probably had pain too. So why did I stop there?
Yep.
Yeah, that's like, and with Danny Rolling and Scream, same thing. Like we've watched you talk about that before, about how you felt so much compassion at one point, and it was like, oh my gosh, why am I having compassion for this horrible individual?
Right.
But
and that's my own block, right? That's my own limitation and my own trigger, because I think a really like more evolved healer or medium would be more of an objective observer in that moment and wouldn't care what other people thought if they had compassion for the person who was the other. And that's my thing to work through.
Yep.
But I recognize it. Yeah.
Because I'm a firm believer that, no matter what bad things people have done, like everybody, if you really want to be forgiven, should be forgiven, but that there's you got to change your behavior, blah, blah, blah. But I think, everybody deserves to be forgiven.
Well, and I really believe too, at the core of everything, people just want to belong. And that is the driving force behind human behavior, is the desire to belong at a very like even lizard brain level or basic level. It's like, we want to belong. We want to
fit in, to be accepted.
And it drives a lot of our cognitions without us even realizing that that's what the driving force is. And so when people feel othered or they don't belong, then that's where a lot of this stuff comes from, like anxieties, depressions.
Tammy, go ahead and ask another question. I'm trying to search for some here in the comments. These comments, I apologize, people.
There's a lot of comments going on. Tons of I'm trying to follow, but they're like bloop, 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 seriously fast.
Yep.
Okay, let's talk about this is something I just like thought the other day. I've been really like rewatching everything of yours again, just trying to kind of like, I love you anyway, so it doesn't matter. Like, I'd watch you 15 times, it doesn't matter. But one cool thing that I have noticed, and this has not just been with your mediumship and the things you've done on television lately, but a lot of different people, even Sarah Lemos. Do you believe there is a connection with under the earth, mines, tunnels?
Oh, sure.
I mean, there's something to that, because in I would say like 80% of these really profound hauntings where you have something darker, more sinister, there is some kind of underground leveled disruption or something that's been left, from the past.
Right. Well, I look at it this way, and this is from maybe a little bit of a different understanding than what you're talking about. Maybe, I don't know. But I think everything has a spirit. I think rocks have a spirit. I think trees have a spirit. I think plants and water, everything has a spirit. Everything has an intelligence. And when I was a little kid, I used to play with rocks, and I would say, I would talk to them or talk about them like they had feelings, and everybody would say, "You're so weird." I'm like, "What do you mean they have feelings?" And then when I started hanging out with some, people that were more into that stuff, they were like, "No, yeah, rocks have a spirit, the mineral world, right?" And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm not crazy, right?" But it's like more indigenous cultures, maybe that or even pagans and things like that. But believe in the power of the elements and in nature, and I believe that too. And unfortunately, we've forgotten. A lot of us have forgotten that part. So we'll talk about rocks, or we'll talk about instead of the spirit of the rock, we'll just talk about, oh, well, these minerals have energy because they have energy. Or we'll say, oh, there was an old mine here, and that's why the energy is happening. It's like, well, maybe the rocks are just pissed off. Yeah. Maybe the element, the actual rock,
right.
Tree. I believe in all of it. I mean,
yeah. And there could be a duality too. I feel like with like lime, we've always heard, limestone. It holds, it retains memory, right? So all of that stuff could also be an imprint. So on top of the fact that you already have just a rock that has its own life and minerals, and
that's my belief. Belief.
Then there's also that duality that it's soaking up the energy from something that actually happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, oh, look, Jen, she talked to Crystals.
Yeah. Yes.
I know you guys are friends, so that's why I posted that.
Yeah. Hi, Jen.
And actually, in the 60s, I think it was the 60s, wasn't there people selling pet rocks?
Yeah, I had one of them. It was like
Yeah.
it said pet rocks, and there was like just rocks, and they were painted,
Yeah.
and they had a little sign that said pet rocks.
Yep.
Yeah, trees communicate with each other. Like, oh my God, it's fungi. I mean, let's like it's we're it's so intelligent. Everything is so intelligent. And I was meditating once, and I got this message. It was like, God never wants us to be lonely. Just look at all of the things that He created around us to let us know that we're not alone. And that includes nature. But we feel so disconnected from nature that we don't even think to talk to a tree or to blend with that energy to feel its presence. And so it's powerful, all the things, right?
What do you think about like spirit animals? This is another scenario that I had. This was probably 4 or 5 years ago. I never dealt with my mom's death. Like I stuffed it, blah blah blah.
It's hard.
So one day I decided, and it was Thanksgiving Day, and I decided I'm going to deal with this today, and I'm going to go for a walk in the woods. And I came 5 feet from a buck. We locked eyes for 5 minutes. You know what I mean? And it was like, okay, this is my mom. And then when I got married to my current wife, the same thing. Like I arrived early to the place where we were going to do pictures. And I walked out back behind this old cabin, and there was a buck there, and we had
that's a spirit animal. There you go.
What's your thoughts on spirit animals? Do you think everybody has one? Was it a guide? Was it my mom?
I'm a firm believer in spirit animals and the power of animals and animal medicine and symbolism, 100%. Do I believe your mom was the buck? I don't know. I mean, maybe in that moment, if you can be everywhere all at once and there's everything is connected, of course, maybe she could have been in there, right? At that moment. I 100% believe in animal communication and the power of animal medicine. And just to share with you, my mom died in 2013. And after she died, I was sitting in my kitchen, and I looked out in the yard, and there were these 2 like majestic owls just sitting on a tree staring at me. And I was like, they had never been there before. And they stayed for 3 months. They were there every single day for 3 months right after my mom died. And so I really believe. And what I would say too is look up what does the deer mean, and what's the symbol of the deer? What does it mean? What does it represent? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I should have done that a long time ago, but I never have. But it was just, if people know anything about deer, you don't get 5 foot from a deer without them spooking and running away. It just doesn't happen.
Especially unless you have headlights in their eyes, which you didn't, right?
Yeah. No. I was just walking. It was right in this like tree brush thing, and it was crazy.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Let me see if I can find a good question here. Jen wants to know how you feel about elementals.
Yeah, no, I believe in elementals too. I feel like a newbie with elementals. Like I can sense them. I know how they appear to me. But I still have so much to learn about elementals. So much to learn about them. But I believe 100% in elementals, and they're powerful. And the one that I encountered in an episode of Dead Files, it was the episode where it was like I saw this big force coming out of the land, and I was like, what is this thing? Like but it was an elemental, right? There's all different kinds of elementals. So I'm a student of elementals. I'm a student of mediumship for life. I'm a lifelong student of this work. Again, the more I learn, the less I know. So
I've definitely changed. Everything I thought I believed when I started doing this to what I believe now is 1,000% different.
Me too.
That's so true. And every time you think you know, something comes along and makes you go, wait a minute.
That's why I know. That's why now I'm like, well, I don't say anything with certainty. I don't think that I really know anything really, because that keeps me curious. In the place of curiosity, you're open to new ideas. And I think that that's a really fun way to exist in the world, because you're just really open to different ideas and information.
This is probably something that happens to a lot of mediums. So I'm going to post this question. Have you ever been able to, or have you ever been unable to read someone?
Yeah, sure. Totally. Sometimes you sit down to do a private reading with someone and it is not happening. And they're like, nope. nope. And you're just like, all right, you know. And I tell people like, and I tell my students that probably will happen to you, and that's okay. It doesn't mean you're a bad medium. It just means you're not connecting with somebody, and you will know within the first 10 to 15 minutes of a reading. And if it is not happening, you stop the reading, and you give the person their money back, and you refer them to another medium. It's not a big deal. And I always trust too, if I'm not connecting with somebody, then that's just not, it was not meant to be. I wasn't meant to connect with them. I wasn't the right medium for them. Doesn't even matter. It's like, don't be so attached to the story. And I think what we do is really hard as mediums. We are so hard on ourselves. And then we go into the story of, I suck. Why am I doing this work? I can't get anything right. And that's all ego. It's just like, no, what do you just trust that the universe was like, not today, Cindy, or whoever, like, not your day. Just let it go. Yeah.
So Amber wants to know what drew you to teaching.
Oh, what drew me to teaching? That's a great question. You know, I waited quite some time to really start teaching. I taught some classes here and there. I think about 5 years into my professional work, 6. And then it was during COVID that I really started teaching because I didn't have time before. I was living out of a suitcase. I was doing TV. And I was like, oh, now it's a good opportunity to teach. And I really believe that this information should be shared with people. It should be shared. And I spent a lot of time studying mediumship, and I'm still a student of mediumship again. But yeah, it's just I think I finally had time when everything got shut down.
Yeah.
And now it's one of my favorite things to do. So I just I'm so, if anything came out of COVID, it was, for me, it was like, great, I can teach now, and I feel confident in my teaching, and it brings me so much joy.
Yeah.
Cool. We are glad you started teaching.
This is okay. So I got to hear about this. I'm not aware of this question, so maybe this is complete bullcrap. But what was your experience on Below Deck?
Oh God, Below Deck. I can't even believe that episode is still circulating. Holy crap! So it like, we filmed in like 2015 or something. So Below Deck. I don't know if you know what that show is, but
it's a yacht show, right?
Yeah, it's a yacht show. So my friend was like, Cindy, you want to come on Below Deck? It's a bunch of psychics, and I knew all of them. And I was like, oh, okay, that sounds fun. We get to go on a boat, have some food. It was a free trip. I'm like, oh, great, you know. But internally, I was like, oh, this could be like a kind of a hot mess because I don't know what's going to happen. So we had to be mic'd on the boat, right? And I was like, I'm just gonna sit in the hot tub or go swimming as much as possible so they can't record me. Right? I'm just gonna immerse myself in water as much as possible so I can avoid being filmed. And they had us do readings for the people on the boat, the crew, and they didn't show any of the actual readings. And they were actually like, a bunch of my friends did really good readings. They didn't show any of those. They just made us all look really ridiculous, which was kind of sad. But for me, I think, I don't know. I watched it and I was like, I looked okay. Cause I like made some jokes and whatever, but honestly, I don't recommend anybody go on Below Deck if you're going on as a medium, because they are not there to show your work. They're there to make you look insane. So just avoid it. Yeah.
Has there ever been another time where you've been set up by people to like disprove that you don't, or to prove that you don't have ability?
Not calling that one in.
Because I imagine that's probably pretty common, people trying to set you up.
I mean, look, it's like this. I say what can happen to mediums, and this is also what I tell my students. The two things that mediums do the most are they misinterpret information, or they give the message to the wrong person. Yeah. And you can be getting accurate information, and the wrong person can claim it to be an ass. Yeah. Doesn't mean you weren't communicating with spirit. Right. You see what I mean? Right.
Yep.
It's just like, oh, I'm not calling that in. Get off me energy. You know, like no.
So this is related too to your teaching. Nicole wants to know, is there any links to your courses or your website?
Yeah, so my website is cindykaza.com or mediumcindykaza.com, and all of my classes are on there and my live events. And then you click on so I teach on Zoom, and it's an Eventbrite link. So if you want to join, I'm teaching 2 classes this weekend. I'm doing a Medium's Guide to Connecting to Your Spirit Guides, and I'm doing a Medium's Guide to Automatic Writing. And then I'm teaching Mediumship Workshop for Beginners in January. I think it's January 18th or 28th, or no, actually that wouldn't make sense. When is it? Hold on, I'll tell you. It's January 28th. Yeah.
Cool. How does the show Dead Files pick the locations you guys go to? I mean, do people just request help, or what? How does that all work?
Yeah, so the families call in and the production company vets them, and they make sure they talk to them, and they make sure that something's actually happening. They don't give us any information at all. I know zero. And so that's how it happens. So the families are calling in.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So it's similar to what we do. Let's see. Tammy, do you have something on?
Yeah, while you're looking at that. Okay, so question from lots of different people. Have you ever been in a situation where you've gone to investigate and you've literally had something fly at you?
No, I have not.
Have you ever
everyone that wanted to know that?
have you ever had any kind of attachments or anything like that?
Sure. I mean, look, spirits are around us all the time, every day. Have I had something follow me home? Yes. Have I had something or things that I felt were like really sticking in my energy? Yes. And that can happen for a number of different reasons. Some of those experiences or those things that are in the aura aren't even, from the spirit world. They can be from people. They can be from locations, just energy. So I have a friend who does energy clearing on me. He's a lifesaver. Like, you can feel it's night and day. I will go in. I'm like, something is on me. I feel bad. Session's over. I feel like a new person. It's incredible.
Heidi wants to know, will there be more Dead Files?
I do not know. What I will say is this. The network merger was a total disaster. So if you guys don't know, Discovery bought Warner, and it has been a mess. I mean, you can read about that online, so I'm not disclosing anything that's not public knowledge. Right. But it's really, really been very hard on television and the paranormal genre in general. So just, I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. Because I've heard, isn't HBO involved with that somehow too?
Well, HBO. So what happened was Discovery bought Warner and they merged, right? So now, so there's Discovery Plus, which was the streaming service. It still exists, and then there's HBO Max, and then and it became Max. So shows from Discovery Plus and HBO Max became one streaming service, right? So it's just like, yeah. You can read about all like the whole merger and everything.
Yeah, I've seen. I definitely know there's some drama involved too, and accusations with not necessarily you, but some other shows and things like that.
Well, I mean, look, it's not even personal, right? It's business. And it's like, it's just what it is. It's business. There's a merger. There's a huge debt acquisition from the merger. And that's how TV goes. So look, we can hope for the best, but as somebody on television, I don't look at it as a personal attack towards me if it doesn't come back. It's just business. Yeah.
I mean, I hope it does, because there's definitely a market for paranormal TV.
Yeah, you never know. Fingers crossed, right? Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Tammy, go ahead.
I know we had a question. I was trying to follow on Facebook. We had a question for Karen. So speaking to your mediumship and your automatic writing versus just going in and your other tools that you use in your trade, what is the easiest to tap in for you?
Ooh. They're also different, right? They're just also different. I would say this: if I'm walking into a location and I feel really overwhelmed, like there's too much energy coming towards me and I can't quite settle or get clear, automatic writing is my go-to, because it gets me very grounded and it clear. And then usually I do some writing, and then I can go back out and do work with the clairs, work with psychometry and stuff like that. I will say psychometry is really useful as well, because it gives me something to focus my energy on so I can get more grounded. So again, when I was talking before about instead of trying to go out here and I'm getting hit and scattered by all this stuff, if I have something where I can just go in and focus, it's for me more useful. Yeah.
Have you ever had to like leave a place or run out of a place? I mean, do you ever get scared doing this?
Yeah, totally. Look, I mean, there have been investigations where I have been scared. I'm like, I don't want to go in that room, or I go in and I'm like, I'm out of here. And then usually what happens is after I sit with it and kind of like think about it a little bit more, or start to understand what's really going on, then I can go back in. But I think that a lot of times I'm afraid of what I don't quite understand, or when an energy that's really powerful hits me a certain way, my immediate reaction is I'm out of here. But I think that's normal, right? And then you can regroup and go back in. Yeah.
There's a tactic, I guess, we use a lot in the foundation. We do a lot of remote viewing.
Yeah, I mean, remote viewing is great.
Do you do a lot of that?
I don't use it a lot. It's like actually remote viewing in real time. Like it depends on how you describe it. So for me, remote viewing is when you can go to a location in real time and see exactly what's happening. That is not one of my strengths. I can see and like I can not be at a location, but still pick up on what's happening at the location and maybe see the area or things like that. But actual remote viewing, I got a lot of practice to do on that. It's like I've never nailed it. Yeah.
Yeah, we like I said, we use, because the foundation, we're spread out and our clients are spread out too. We use that a lot, as a tool to help figure out what's going on with people. Tammy, go ahead. We're actually almost to an hour now, so
I know already.
It went by.
10 minutes.
Flies. It flies.
Yep.
Okay, here's one for you. So have you ever had a situation where you've been doing a reading and you think you're communicating with someone that has actually passed, and then you find out later that this person was actually very sick and actively passing?
Often. It happens.
Okay.
So live events, like I'll go to somebody and be like, I've got this man here, so and so, the name is this, and it's like they're like, yes, that all that is correct, but that person is still alive. And so my next question would be, is that person very sick? Are they late stage dementia, Alzheimer's? Are they getting ready to pass? A lot of times the answer is yes, because in that space the soul really can travel. I mean, and I also think this, Tammy, that we can travel that way without being sick, but it just takes a lot more discipline and practice to learn how to do it. But it's possible, like gurus and all these people, they can do that. They can, but yeah, so it's very common. And then just adding on that, another thing that happens sometimes is I'll get like information about somebody in the living, very specific, right? And I'll go and I think the person's on the other side. And somebody in the audience is like, no, but that person's alive. But I can't tell the difference all the time because it's just the information's there. And so if they're not sick, right? And then I have to ask myself or ask the spirit world, who is giving me this information? Because there's a reason I got that name. And what I found is most of the time, the only way the person in the audience would have ever raised their hand is if I had given the exact information that I had given, because they didn't know the spirit person on the other side, no connection to that person on the other side. But they would know it through the person living. So they'd be like, oh my God, my friend Brandon, yeah, that's his dad, right? But they never would have raised their hands if I didn't get the information out of the gate. But again, like as a psychic medium, sometimes I can't tell the difference in the energies because it feels the same.
Right. And that's good to know, because that's exactly, I've had that happen a lot lately. And I had the question come to me with, well, wait a minute. He was still alive. And it was a situation where I did a reading for a lady. The gentleman came through. He told me what was going on, what was wrong, all these different things, validated that, left it. And we kind of thought it was just talking about him in the living because that's all she was communicating. That's all she was. And about a week later, he actually passed. And they were informed, and it was a close family friend. It wasn't someone that was a blood relative, so they weren't really following. And they literally sent me back a message and said, the Gary that you mentioned well, he passed Tuesday, 4 days after our reading.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what? So that's what made me think, okay, can someone actively be passing and still connect in that manner?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just one more example I'll give you of something that happened to me, which was super interesting. I thought was I was doing a live event and I went to this woman in the audience. I was describing this man on the other side, and then I heard the name Garrett. You may have heard this story before, but I heard the name Garrett. And so this woman raises her hand in the audience. She goes, well, my friend Garrett is alive. She's like, I had lunch with him today before I came to your event. Like, we literally had lunch today. And she said, the man you're describing is his best friend who's being taken off of life support tomorrow at 1 p.m. And Garrett and I were talking about him, and literally the spirit or the energy of his friend on life support traveled to me on the stage so he could give a message to his friend before he was taken off of life support.
Oh.
Right. So, and that was like a really real teaching moment for me, because it really started to, again, like make me think about what the possibilities are with, look, for the soul to travel, right? And for the soul to be in many different places simultaneously. Right. And even in this, frequency. So again, like I was saying, people who have really mastered like deep practices of meditation and things like that, they're able to travel like that, it's all here. It's all possible. It just have to be, right? We're so distracted. We're so distracted by all of the things.
So you just mentioned your live shows, and that's something too I noticed, because you were in the town where I live recently. So what happens at a Cindy Kaza live show?
Yeah, so I bring through people's loved ones who have passed away. That's the goal. So I'm on stage, there's an audience, and I don't call people onto the stage. I go to the spirit world first, and then I get the information, I find where I'm going, and then I give messages. So I do that for 90 minutes, and then I do a little Q&A at the end, and I've been doing that for a long time. So
cool. Good deal. This is an interesting question too. Have you ever done any missing persons cases?
No, not really. Although, well, okay, I take that back. Yes, I've helped a friend before with a couple of missing persons cases, but I didn't work directly with the family or the police, because for me, it's like one of those things where, oh my gosh, I would really hate to misinterpret or be wrong. Like it is so, oof,
there's pressure there.
Well, it's just like, because, it's like, we all heard about the Sylvia Brown thing. And I think actually what she said, I don't remember exactly. I don't even think she was wrong, but like the way that it was delivered, the mother was sure that the daughter was dead, and then the daughter wasn't dead, and so on and so forth. And right. And so, but again, like we were talking about before, just barely what we were talking about, Tammy and I were talking about not always being able to tell the difference between the information of somebody who's alive or dead. So do you see where it can be tricky? And I would hate so much if I said the wrong thing to a parent.
Yeah.
Like that to me, it's just not my thing. Oh my gosh, it's just like, and so that's why I don't really do those cases. But I will, like with a friend, if they ask me for help, tell them what I see, like third party removed. That makes me feel more comfortable. And I will also say this, those cases are really hard. I have a friend who works on those cases a lot, and it really affects her psychologically. Like it is like hard to look at those scenes and see that stuff. Yeah. So I also am aware of the impact that sort of work can have on a person if they do it daily.
Yeah. I actually have somebody that I know that, and this is like completely off the record, they work with police quite a bit.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. Yeah. They keep it on the down low because, the cops don't want to advertise that they're talking to psychics and, things like that. But that's, I bet it's more common than people think.
It is. It totally is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. In fact, we're gonna try and book a guest. I reached out to him, and we're kind of like in the tag you're it game right now with trying to book him on the show. But he is a psychic medium that actually works with police officers.
Yeah.
And
totally.
So that's that'll be one of the topics that we have on pretty soon. Tammy, we got to wrap this up pretty soon.
Okay. So what do you think, Cindy, is the difference? And this has been something I've been personally struggling with lately. And I know a lot of people that do struggle with this. So we know clairaudient, you're hearing. Okay. Telepathy is that more a claircognizant?
Okay. Clairaudience. Okay. So I'm going to describe it the way that my mentor described it to me. My mentor, Paul Jacobs, who I'm so grateful to for everything that he taught me. He's from the UK. Thank you, Paul. So grateful to you. Okay. So clairaudience, it's like this. It's like if you're truly having a clairaudient experience, there would be no misinterpretation because you're not having to look at an image and interpret it. It's coming through as clearly as you're hearing me speak to you now. So I'm sure you're not misinterpreting what I'm saying in this moment, right?
Okay.
Clairsentience. You can have a clairsentient experience that presents as a word thought. So when you hear mediums or psychics saying, oh, I have a man, I'm getting a J name, like J. Okay, that's not clairaudience. That's a clairsentient word thought.
Right.
If you really were clairaudient in that moment, you'd be like hearing a spirit say, hey, my name is Jason.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
But because of the way that it enters the mind, it feels the same. So it feels like you're hearing it. It seems like you're hearing it because it's coming through. It's like a thought, right? And clairaudience, true clairaudience or telepathy, it's not external. It's in your mind. It sounds like you're talking to yourself.
Okay.
But if it were truly clairaudient, there wouldn't be a misinterpretation. It would be like you're hearing me speak to you now inside of your mind, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. So how would you define telepathy?
So that's the ability to read somebody else's thoughts or something's thoughts. Let's say you're communicating with animals, you communicate with plants, you're able to read the communication in your mind telepathically. So it's in the mind. Mm-hmm.
And that would be, so if you're in a situation where you're out of an investigation, you're doing an investigation and you're communicating with something that's not seeable, it's not there, but you're just getting the thoughts, more like a download, more like a claircognizant.
Right.
Can that still be telepathy?
I mean, I guess if it's in your mind, right? Maybe it is telepathic. I've never really looked at it that way.
Yeah.
I guess it could all be telepathic if it's not coming through as like a feeling. It's not like a sensation in your body. I suppose you could describe it as a telepathic form of communication.
Yeah, interesting thought.
Actually, here's another thought on that because so another teacher that I studied with, who I took a class with, his name is Andy Bing, also from the UK. He was teaching a lecture once, and he was talking about how as mediums, we're either communicating with the spirit mind to mind. So this is actually interesting. Mind to mind, which would be telepathically, which could include clairaudience, clairvoyance, and claircognizance, right? And clairsentience, but it's mind to mind. Or you're communicating with the spirit soul to soul. And when you're in the soul to soul blend, it's a very different experience. And the best way that I can describe it is that you literally don't have to interpret anything. You just are talking, and it's like you're becoming the spirit, and it's just there. It's different. It's a totally different experience. And I remember him explaining that, and I was like, what is he talking about? Like, I don't understand what he's talking about, because the mind to mind communication is just as effective. It's really, you can get very specific stuff. That's not one is, well, soul to soul is I think it is a little bit better. It's a deeper way to communicate. But the point is, when he was explaining it to me, I didn't really understand what he was saying until I had the experience of that sort of communication. And that is the sweet spot of mediumship. And I wish I could get there every time, but that's like my goal. So, yeah.
I got to be honest, some of the things that you two have talked about tonight, like in between yourselves, I feel like a kindergartner at a college class. I'm like, what the? Claire who? Claire.
There are these 4 women that hang out with mediums. There are 4 of them.
Yeah. And that's why I wanted to, like, everybody knows you through TV, but I know you're way more than what people see on TV. You know,
Thank you for that.
Yes.
It's I wanted to kind of focus more on that than the TV stuff because
No, I appreciate that.
You probably talk about that stuff all the time.
Well, you know, oh, sorry. Well, I was just gonna say it's important for people also. Yeah, like for me, for people to know that, like, yes, TV is part of what I do. It actually came a lot later in my career than these other things, and it's a part of it. But there's so much more to this field and this work than that. Yeah. So anybody that watches TV or just know that we do a lot of other things too. Yeah.
Yep. Do you ever get to just maybe go like old school, just go investigate a house with a team or anything like that with no cameras, no TV shows, just, you know, hey, we're investigating this family needs help and we're going to go help them. Do you ever get to do that anymore?
No, I haven't done that, but yeah. I mean, I think I would. I mean, like some of the paranormal conferences, we do that, like Strange Escapes. I do the events with Amy Bruni. Those are really fun. I'm doing another one. Oh, where are we going? We're going to, somebody help me. It's like such a famous place. It's on my website. Anyway, we're going somewhere in May.
Yeah.
Help! Cool. Look at my website. It's everybody knows this place. It's an insane asylum in Ohio.
Ashmore.
No.
Ohio State.
In Ohio.
Yeah. Wait. No. Not Ohio. Wait. Hold on. Oh. I have to look this up. Sorry. I know we're at time, but I have to do this because it's going to drive me crazy.
Trans-Allegheny. That's pretty famous.
Yeah. That's.
But we're gonna go do an investigation there. So I mean, so in events like that, we do investigations and there aren't cameras and it's really fun and we hang out with people and people get to tap into. And I always I don't know, it's fun. I enjoy doing it.
Yep.
Okay.
I think I know the asylum you're talking about. It's on the tip of my tongue too, and I can't.
Wait, where am I going? Wait, here it is. Oh, Waverly Hills.
Waverly. That's Waverly's in Kentucky.
Yep. Okay.
Yes,
sorry.
I've been there, Cindy. Have so much fun.
Yeah,
it's huge. It is huge.
Yeah. So that's in May. I'm excited.
All right. Well, we're gonna, if you don't mind, just a couple more questions because people are still watching. So, how do you personally set boundaries as far as when you receive messages from spirits and when you don't allow it?
So, you know, it's I really feel the spirit world is around us all the time. So that's really the space I operate from. And I look at it this way now. If you think of mediumship and a psychic medium, it's kind of like we're like these radios that are plugged into an outlet. There's always an underlying current running through us. We're always a little bit more sensitive. But now I can control how high I turn up the volume. So when I'm not working, it's on 0, I think. I mean, look, sometimes if I'm really tired, it's not on 0. I can't really, my boundaries are a little bit blurry just because of my energy is, a little bit low. Not low in a negative, but tired. That's a better way to put it. When I'm working, I turn it up to 10 and I'm open. And if I feel a spirit, and sometimes you feel them, you can feel them enter your energy, and it's like, hey, look, not now, like what, not right now, So it takes discipline. It takes discipline because the other thing that I found is when people first really start connecting to the spirit world and having these big experiences, they don't want to leave, so they stay super open because it's intoxicating. The energy of the spirit world can be intoxicating. And I use the word intoxicating for a reason, because I also believe it can become a form of escapism. So there are people who live way too much in the world of the spirit world. And I live here in this frequency, right? This is where I am because this is how I came in, and I have to learn how to navigate shifting my awareness to different spaces. But don't let it be a form of escapism for you, because there's a lot to experience right here, right now.
Yep. Is going to places like bars or hospitals or things like that, is that tough sometimes? Because there's a lot of just crap energy at bars, and I mean, hospitals obviously is not a fun place to be. I mean, do you have problems in places like that?
I mean, I don't really go to bars. I quit drinking a long time ago, like 20 years ago. So I'm like, I only go when I have to. So that tells you where I'm at with bars. But look, it's also, Hospitals, look, it's tricky. It's like nobody really, who wants to go into a hospital, like
Right.
not a fun place to be. Does the energy there, can it be really difficult? Absolutely, because you're dealing with so many different things. You're dealing with people that are sick, you're dealing with families that are stressed, you're dealing with grief, you're dealing with anger, you're dealing with, it's like a hot spot for all of these really, really, really big emotions. And if you're an empath, yes, that's like really overwhelming.
Okay, and Cindy, have you ever, like, do you still, I know when I first started really opening up and doing this several years back now, I would get every time I would do it, massive third eye headaches, and it was just awful. And I would have to go ground and go take care of myself and take salt baths and all. Do you still do that occasionally when you come across a really strong entity?
I'm not really a headache person. I take baths all the time. That's my thing. If I like in hotels, I don't like hotels without a bathtub. And I'm always in the bath, and I always, not always, but a lot of times am taking Epsom salt baths. But I will say something else I'm really starting to think about or work with more is this. Anytime we feel like a block or a headache or pain, I think it's an opportunity to look at how we're running this energy through our bodies, and to look at why is it accumulating here? What does that mean? Because it's energy, right? So there's growth in that pain as well. So it's something to think about going forward, and just maybe once you understand why that's happening, it won't happen anymore.
Yeah. When I first started, it was bad. It was like almost every time, but then now it's just occasional. But when it does happen, it's usually when I've come across something that is really powerful. And I don't know if it's like that's the thing, is trying to figure it out. Like you said, like, why is it still lingering? So, and sometimes I think when you're in that environment, you are spending the night, you're not leaving, so you can't actually get away from it to ground to really. You can just step outside.
Well, let me ask you this. Why, is there a place in you that's afraid of experiencing this powerful being through vision or through something? Is there an underlying fear that would maybe be preventing you from allowing yourself to open your third eye completely for this powerful being or energy?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I mean, I think maybe I'll interject, because I know you've gotten in some nasty cases.
There have been there have been a couple that have been pretty bad. So
it could also be your body and your spirit.
Or my guides are telling me, no, don't go there.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Sometimes like not being able to do something is actually a good thing.
Right.
Tammy, go ahead and ask another one if you got one more, because we're going to wrap this up here pretty soon. And you said you had a bunch.
Yeah, well, I just kind of jotted down everything from the week and talked to people, and let's see. Oh, let's talk about the, I know you've spent a lot of time in Indonesia and love it. And what are you working on projects over there? Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I've been developing my own project for a long time now. A lot of people don't know this. And since 2012, I've been developing this project that I'm still developing, and I'll be developing until I sell this project or I die. But yeah, so I've gone to Indonesia several times because I love Indonesia so very much. But I also have a lot of friends there, and so this last trip I was there, and I went to a few different places, but the place that I went that really for me, it was like just a game changer, and I'd been wanting to go there for about 10 years. I went to Toraja, which is the island of Sulawesi, and the Toraja people are really, really interesting. They have really interesting death rituals. And 90% of the Toraja people are today are Christian, but prior to Christianity coming to the island, they practiced animism, right? A form of animism. And so today it's like they're still practicing the death rituals of their ancestors, although the belief system is slightly different. It's kind of like they're kind of mixed together.
Melding the two.
but it's important for them to respect their ancestors by carrying on these traditions,
Right.
right? So what happens is when somebody dies, usually the body of the loved one that passes away is kept in the home, the family home, for sometimes years, because the funerals are very, very expensive. They're at minimum, from what I gathered when I was there, minimum 50,000 US dollars, minimum, low end, because there are a lot of different things that have to take place, sacrifices, all these things have to take place at the funeral. So they're very expensive. And so it takes families a long time to pay for the funerals. And so the families will keep the bodies of their loved ones in their homes, again, like sometimes for years. So I went and the old belief, in the old ways, they would say that until the funeral happens, that the person is actually not dead. They're just sick or sleeping. They're not dead. So the families bring them water, food, talk to them as if they're alive, and care for their bodies. They have a kind of they have a way that they embalm them, although I didn't quite understand fully what it was. But and so I was able to go visit with a couple of families that had the bodies of their loved ones in the homes, and it was like just really it's just like it's death and pain and grieving, and then also like just the explanation of the culture was really fascinating. And for me, I think I think I'll admit, like, and prior to going, I was like, I can't believe I'm going to get to see all these things, right? And then my brother died last year, and it was like super difficult. And so I'm going there, and the first person that I meet is a brother with his sister in the home. And so we had that bond of losing a sibling, right? And her body was in the home, and I was looking at her, and I was feeling his pain. He's so deep in grief, and she had died like almost around the same time as my brother, like 1 month after my brother, right? And after I left, I was thinking, I was like, wow, one of the big like traumas from my brother's death was actually watching him die and seeing his body. And I'd never seen that before. It's the first dead body I'd ever seen. It's the first time I'd ever watched somebody die. I helped him die. And even though I'm a psychic medium, right? Like I'm not to handle, like I wasn't equipped to handle that. So it was like very traumatizing. And I had a little bit of PTSD from it. And so anyway, what I recognized, I was like, wow, like, the Taraja people are very, very well prepared to handle bodies. Like that doesn't phase them. That is something that they will exhume their loved ones out of the ground after years and dust them off and take pictures with them. I have a picture of that. I mean, it's
wow.
super.
Yeah.
So it's like they are the lines between life and death. I don't know. They're blurry, right? Like I feel here in the West, we're not as prepared to I think handle that stuff. And so it was a lesson for me of like, what would it look like if I looked at my brother's passing and the vision of his body as this beautiful thing that I was able to witness, that I was able to hold, that I was able to support, that I was able to care for, instead of being traumatized by that vision, because I think that's super healing. It's like a different perspective, so just learning so much from different cultures and how they view the afterlife. And it was a profound experience. Like it was a once in a lifetime, maybe not once in a lifetime, maybe I'll go back, but it had been on my bucket list for 10 years, and I got to go and I got to film it. And I'm so grateful to the Taraja people and my friends in Indonesia for allowing me to do that.
Andrea said this too, but I did see a documentary or something like that about that at one point. That blew my mind.
yeah, it's really, really incredible. It's and it's like there's so much more to it, right? There's so much, and I can't wait to get everything edited. And I'm doing the translations now. Editing is tedious; it takes forever. So hopefully it'll be ready soon, but it'll probably take some time. Yeah.
Do you do your own editing, or do you have?
I do some of it myself.
Sorry, this is the part where I know what I'm talking about.
No, I'll do the bones of it. So like I'll sync up all the footage, like the video. I have multiple cameras and audio files, and then I'll go in. I'll get the translations done, and I'll put the outline of the story together through video, and then have the editor like bells and whistles and all the other things, because the editor's not interacting with me, so they don't know what story to tell. I have to. I know the footage better than anybody else, so I have to be part of that process.
Yeah, that's. I mean, and people have no idea how much time that takes.
Oh my god! It's like 40 hours easily just on like one part of it, right? And I taught myself Final Cut Pro, and I'm just like, what am I doing? I'm like driving myself insane, but.
We've got like this little 30-second promo here that I made for the foundation, and I think I have 20 hours in it.
Yeah, I was watching that. I'm like, that is excellent work. I liked it. Good for you.
No, it's not even that one. This one's shorter than that.
Oh.
Maybe I'll tell you what. Let me just show it here real quick. It's 30 seconds, and then we are going to wrap this up. We'll give you a chance to say, anything else you want to talk about real quick. But here it is, real quick. This took 20 hours.
Homes that we go into, we tell the people, lock the door, leave the place. It isn't even worth it for an exorcist to go in there.
It's pretty slick.
Yeah, so that's
great.
That's what 20.
Really good.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what 20 hours of editing will get you. So.
It takes forever.
It does.
So insane.
Yeah. So, is there anything else before we let you go that you want to talk about or promote or just?
I don't know. I'm just super grateful for the opportunity to be here. And I think I just would say like. I hope everybody listening and everybody out there starts to really like tap into their own ability, their own unique imprints, right? Everybody has their own unique imprint in this work. And the more you believe, the more you receive. So I wish you all like a happy holiday season, and thanks for having me. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for joining us. And this is always the weird part where we end it. Tammy, do you want to say anything real quick before we wrap it up?
Just thank you for being here tonight. We're grateful to have you. Our viewers are grateful to have you. We have so many people that constantly ask, like, what would Cindy do? Let's ask Cindy.
I don't even know what I do. It might change tomorrow.
I know. Well, that's true.
Thank you.
But today, living in the present, this is what Cindy would do, guys.
Exactly. Yes.
Well, anyway, again, thanks for coming on, and we do hope the Dead Files returns. I mean,
thank you so much. Thank you so much.
If not that, something else comes along, because
thank you.
People definitely enjoy watching you on the TV shows.
Yeah.
So thanks, everybody.
Blessings and happy holidays.
Thank you too. I'll come back anytime. Just let me know.
All right. Perfect. Cool.
All right.
Thanks everybody for watching, and thanks for all your questions. And we will see you in. I don't know if next week or 2 weeks. I'm going to try and get somebody on next week, but we'll see you soon. Thank you.